As you can tell, I do record these and I put them on a YouTube channel. There's probably 250 of these talks because they have to go somewhere. Anyway, I find it interesting personally to encapsulate a particular spiritual idea or message in about 5 or 6 minutes because it's a discipline for me to think about it and to assemble it and to pray and be inspired about my own understanding of it and then to be able to communicate it to some degree. And of course, the purpose of communication is this spiritual fitness or this exercise that we're all involved in. I'm a firm believer we all get an understanding of our own understanding. And my understanding, as valuable as it might be to somebody else, is always secondary to the understanding that you gain and that works for you. But with that in mind, we've had a challenging topic this week. Are we in the prime of our life? And do we believe that right now in this moment that this is the prime, or is the prime somewhere in the past? And so I'll tell you a really quick story because, like I say, I got like 5 or 6 minutes, but I can talk really fast. Anyway, when I was 42 years old, without going into too many gratuitous details, a lot of people might think 42, prime of life, right? And so, you've gotten married, you've had the kids, your business is growing, your intimate relationships are flourishing, you feel better, you're more creative, you're at the top of your game. But for me, 42 was somewhat south of that, you might say. I was at absolute existential rock bottom when I hit 42 years old. And whether you've ever hit a rock bottom or not, that's sort of irrelevant. But I think as humans, we all know what it's like to bottom out in life, whatever your brand of bottoming out is. But when I was 42, I bottomed out hard, and the universe was playing addition by subtraction on me, taking a lot of stuff away until I would finally wake up and see like what's going on in life and begin to reorient and rearrange my life in some way that was actually positive and constructive, that would actually work. And of course, a lot of that for me was a newfound form of spiritual fitness. So anyway, I found a mentor, a spiritual guide, and this guy said he recommended a particular spiritual author. So I went to a bookstore and I couldn't find it. And then this book fell out of the bookshelf, and there it was on the floor. And now this is just for me. The book was called Sermon on the Mount and was by this metaphysical author from the early 20th century. His name was Emmett Fox. And for me personally, he was like a keystone of a great deal of spiritual understanding. It really worked for me. It helped me to understand a great deal of scriptural ideas and injunctions that for me were just utterly absurd and completely dismissible. And this is after reading, 25 years of yoga scripture. Now I love all the scripture. But anyway, as I read this book, he talked about this particular thing that would happen in your consciousness if you practiced a true, legitimate, authentic, honest, straightforward spiritual program. And I'm just going to read you these couple paragraphs, okay? This is what he says can happen to us. He says, now, by the way, he's going to use Christian terminology. He's going to use the term the Christ. I would equate that with, if that word works for you, great. You might equate it to the God within, source, essence, being, whatever name you might give. But anyway, he says in this book, I remember when I first read this, as soon as you obtain the spiritual consciousness, you will find that all things indeed work together for good for those who love God, or good. You will experience perfect health, abundant prosperity, and complete and utter happiness. Your health will be so good that mere living will be in itself an inexpressible joy. The body, no longer the burden to be dragged around that so many people find it, will be as though it were shod with winged shoes. I liked how they talked back then. Your prosperity will be such that you need not take the question of finance into consideration at all. You will always have all the supply that you need to carry out any of your plans. The world will turn out to be full of charming people only too anxious to help you in every way. Others will come into your life only for good. You will find yourself occupied with the most delightful and interesting activities of the most widely and useful kind. All of your energy, and all of your faculties will find full scope for their expression. And in short, you will develop the completely integrated and fully expressed personality of which modern psychology dreams. Those who have not glimpsed the secret of the Christ or the spiritual message may look upon all of this as nothing but a beautiful vision, too good to be true. But it is just the essence of the Christ or the spiritual message that nothing is too good to be true, because the love and the power of God are true. It is just this very belief that complete harmony is too good to be true that really prevents our getting it. We as mental beings make the laws under which we live, and we have to live under the laws that we make. So that hit me like several arrows in the forehead all at once, and it just made me realize that if there was any restriction or limitation, or if I hadn't been living in my prime, that I better set about rearranging my consciousness and aiming toward the highest that I know. So for a few years, I've been working on it, and I'm not where I'm going to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And I know that by constantly developing and exercising this faith and this trust that my latter years will be better than my former years, that I'll live more and more of those two paragraphs. And to a large degree, those paragraphs are true and they're real in my life. And there's always room for growth. So I hope you find the topic stimulating. If you have any questions you ever want to chat with me about, always available. And thanks for sharing this with people. It's more fun to meditate with people that you drag to class. And much love to you. We'll see you all tomorrow.